Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with Martin, a sober Martin today. He did try and make an appearance after the United game, but I quickly realised what was happening, and he had to make a sharp exit. But how are you doing, my man?
Sober. No, well, obviously for those who are backstage, I said, "Oh, stream from the pub, me steaming, full of pints." I go on with all my mates who every single one of them was supporting Man United. All you could hear was chanting "United, United," and I put it down to my face, and still swarming over me. And Rich was like, "Not having it."
Yeah. No, I mean, I entertained it for a minute backstage, but I was like, no, we can't be having that. But mate,
Yeah,
great
no,
to have you
I
on
was in
board.
agreement.
Yeah, I think George is joining us later as well. So we're going to preview the Wolves game. Obviously, massive game coming up on Saturday. We're going to talk transfers. There seems to be links to every man and his dog in La Liga, as you said, backstage. Obviously, we've got potential Mathieu Alemany coming in from Barcelona, who's, the guru in a football director or director of football. So, massive news there. And also touching on Unai and Ollie Watkins getting nominated for Player and Manager of the Month, respectively. So we're going to touch on that. And obviously, any of your questions and comments that you want to give us tonight. So please do get involved in the show with your comments. I've got comments streaming in as already. I do have the pinned comment at the top, though, so I will cover this first, just bits of housekeeping. As always, guys, please do hit that like button as soon as you come into the show. It really helps us grow the channel. We tried our best to get to 1,400. We are currently at, Martin, 1,396 subscribers. So we need 4 more tonight to get to 1,400. So please hit that subscribe button. And if you do want to become a member, I know some of you have been asking. We've obviously got, I think we've got 5 at the last count. I know Duncan and Rachel are members. I've pinned the link to join as a member at the top of the chat. So if you look on the live chat at the top of that, here is the link to join as a member and follow the instructions. And it's just $1.99 a month, the third of a cost of a pint, to help support the channel. Become a Villa Park Pod follower, get your shout out and get your little badge, membership badge, as we go, and get yourself into members only prize draws. I've got a man waiting for me backstage as well, the legend himself, George Fowler. How are you doing, my man?
Hey lads, how's it going? How you doing, boys? I'm doing well.
Good. Got the little one off to sleep?
Yeah, just about, mate. I'm hoping she stays that way as well.
Good stuff. Let's get in the comments. So Eddie's Football Waffle says, big up, man. I have a feeling for Wolves to be hungry after the 6-0 battering. I think they will win. Hope not. Michael's in the house. Evening, Michael. Evening, all. Great to have you on board, mate. Gary said we need United to beat Brighton tonight. I know we're all united for one night only. Bruno, we hate you usually, but you can score tonight, please, mate. Please. Rachel's in the house. Hi, Rachel. And Gary as well is saying hello again. Duncan, evening all. We can still finish above Tottenham and Brighton. I love the positivity. And Michael saying still having difficulty joining. Mate, I don't know what else. If you click through that link, it should help you do it. I'm not sure why it's not letting you, but we'll try and work something out for you. So, George, I'll come to you first, mate. Obviously, disappointing result. I would say more so. I think it was just a game too far for the players against United. But Wolves this week, it's getting to crunch time now, and it's that time where we've got to see whether the players can step up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, last week, the United game, I think, like as you just said, it did just feel like it was one step too far, really, didn't it? And
yeah.
I kind of felt that we kind of got found out a little bit. It was like I was waiting for someone to work us out over this run, and I think like the way Casemiro just stepped onto Louise, I think it just kind of like, that's it. That's how you stop them. And I'm just hoping that everyone else has not cottoned onto that, who we've got to play. But onto the Wolves game, yeah, Wolves are now, fair play to them. The trouble they were in at Christmas, they've got themselves, a good manager in Lopetegui, got themselves clear of danger. we'd like to think that they've sort of, they're be happy with their lot now. 13th, 14th, whatever they are, and it's us that need the points. But as we all know, it doesn't always work like that. And this is a local derby, and I'm sure they'll enjoy nothing more than ruining our European charge.
Exactly. Martin, are you thinking after they got beat 6-0 on against Brighton on the weekend, are you thinking they're going to be well up for this, or do you think they're going to be, like as George is kind of alluding to, safe now? They're on the beach already.
I would say they're sorry, excuse me. I would say they're definitely on the beach, but at the same time, Midlands Derby, they want to ruin it. Like, we've been there when we were on the beach and we gone into a derby like against a Leicester or Wolves, and we would try and turn up and try to ruin their day, and it'd be no difference for Wolves either. They're definitely on the beach for sure, and I think they're there for the taking. But at the same time, I think us suffering a loss from Man United is what's really going to kick us on, because we were due a loss. We all knew we were due a loss, but I feel that sometimes the loss is what gets us to bounce back to where we want to be. And I think this is a perfect game for Wolves, because they do look like they're on the beach, and to take a hammering like they did from Brighton, they won't accept that. And if they bring that into our game, hopefully that gives us the 3 points and just keep us in that running.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, you were nodding your head there, George. Are you thinking similar? Like maybe we Wolves are kind of there for the taking almost, like now that they've got that safety.
Well, do you know what? Even whether I'm on this show or whether I listen to, there's been 33 teams that have been there for the taking this season.
Yeah, I know. That's usually Kev. That's usually Kev.
Yeah. So I don't really like to use that term. As I said the other week when we played Brentford, we earn the right to win these games. I'm not really worried what the other teams do. If we turn up and we go for it, we can win it, and that's all I really want from the boys. I'm not expecting Wolves to just roll over and do us a favour, because they can't do anything now. It's up to us to earn the right and win the game and get ourselves back up again.
Yeah, absolutely. And they could play with real freedom, couldn't they? Obviously they got thrashed last week, which is obviously a freak result because they've had some really good results over the last few weeks. So, and they've got good players. So, we will talk on a couple of their players in a bit, but yeah, I certainly don't envisage a same performance that they've put in against Brighton coming up against us, because as Gary mentioned there, Lopetegui won't have it. He'll give him a right kick up the arse, and it's going to be a tough game. Like, there's no way he's going to accept that, particularly
them. It's a freak result, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, and there's been that, that I don't know what it is, but I don't know whether this is a trend or whether it's happened, years gone by. But obviously, United getting beat 7 off of Liverpool. I think there was 1 or 2 results last season. Obviously, Tottenham getting battered off Newcastle. Almost the same fate happened to them against Liverpool, but they managed to pull themselves around. I mean, is it a case, Martin, that like teams just sort of crumble easier now, or is it nothing different to what we've had in the past?
I think it's something different to what we had in the past, because we have seen games where look, I'm going back to his lovely man cave.
Yeah, he's getting his man cave.
Yeah. But I think it's nothing like what we've seen in the past. We have seen results where teams have won by ridiculous score lines. Leicester done this at Southampton, 9-0 away from home. Liverpool and 9-0 against Bournemouth. And Man United beating Forest 9-0, Ipswich 9-0. Them types of games, we've seen them all before. It's no different. I don't think the term of teams crumbling easier now is the right term, but you've seen it in all the seasons. So it's not something new where it's like, oh my god, where are these big scorelines coming from? It's been around for ages, and with a season as long as it is, you're going to expect someone to have a game where they just completely crumble, and it's just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, 100%. A few comments coming in. Jam Jack says, evening all, I keep missing the lives, but always here. We all follow the Villa. Well, you haven't missed us tonight, mate. You're in
tonight, Jam Jack.
Yeah. Duncan says Villa looked a bit tired. Didn't use our pace against the United centre backs. Should be fresher against Wolves. And then Rachel said we need the injured players back just to freshen up, give energy, and give us other options. Michael said, let's hope someone puts Rio's words up in the dressing room and rams it back at him. Absolutely.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah. And both Gary and Michael saying it'll be different Wolverhampton we face. We need to forget what happened to them last week. And Gary's saying there'll be a different animal at home. So yeah, it's one of those. Now I want to cover a first point around what Duncan said about us looking a bit tired last week. I know we just covered that slightly, but do you think having a week off, George, will help the players, or as good as a week, like no midweek game, as good as a week training, will have the players a bit fresher for Saturday?
Well, I certainly hope so, mate. Say, like the last game, though, we kind of felt that where United had played on the Thursday, we sort of thought we might have the advantage there, didn't we? But,
Yeah.
United looked fresher than us still come Sunday. But, yeah, I'm desperately want to see, like, Coutinho back, Cash back, Kamara back, because it's killing us, really, isn't it? Just putting the same 11 out week in, week out, same couple of subs we're using every time. And, and the more often we keep using this team, the more the opposition are going to know what we're doing, and they can plan for it better, can't they? So, that's all we can do, really.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you think, like, from our perspective, the players, if you keep a settled 11, they get used to playing with each other and, kind of get used to each other's runs. But at the same time, opposition just have to watch the previous game and see, well, this is where Villa attack and this is what we have to do to stop them. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the minute, what more can we do? There's no one else, is there? So you just got to keep going with the same side until the players are back.
Yeah. And Martin, Rachel was saying about the injured players coming back, and one or two comments. Gary saying, "Is anyone available at the weekend?" I was hoping that we'd have had the press conference today, because I know a few managers were doing that today, but obviously Emery didn't today. But Rachel saying it's on Friday, so we'll wait and see. But are you expecting anybody to be back for Saturday? Have we seen any players in training pictures or anything like that yet?
No, but I think, funny enough, I did literally 5 minutes before I come on, I seen this Twitter video of Matty Cash's barber saying, "I'm getting ready for the weekend." And
okay.
I don't know whether that's
exclusive.
I don't know whether that's him being in the know that he's fresh and back and ready.
Probably got a birthday party or something like that.
Yeah,
that could be another thing. But he said he's getting ready for Saturday, so that's all the information I have for you, unfortunately, with regards to anybody coming in. But if that's the case, well, then we can all thank Matty Cash's barber.
Yeah. Well, let's hope, because I think Ashley Young's done brilliantly. And it's to either of you. Ashley Young's done brilliantly, but someone who is 37, nearly 38, it's a difficult task coming up against wingers of the quality of, like, Sancho, Harvey Barnes, and whoever else over the last few weeks. It's got to take its Mbuemo, or the other guy. I can't remember what the other guy at Brentford was, but it's got to be a hell of a trek playing against them, like, week in, week out. And I think having Cash in the team, as Jamjack says, for some fresh legs will really help the team.
Yeah, God, Young's done great, to be fair, isn't he? What a season he's had, considering he was only supposed to be, a little bit part, changing room, cheerleader type. He's probably played more games than Cash now, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
He's done really well, but the opposition seem to target him week in, week out. So they see him as our weak link. And as you say, it's a star-studded line of opponents he's had in recent weeks, and he does look knackered. He's only a little bit younger than me, mate. And I think, God, I think I heard Kev the other day saying about how he feels at his age, and I fully concur.
Yeah, exactly. So all credit to Ashley Young, but it would be great, because I think even sometimes he's good to bring on, with 15, 20 minutes to go. Once we've kind of, if we need to shut up shop, or if we need a different type of player, a different type of voice on the pitch. And I know Unai Emery's giving him a lot of praise, so it could be a good could be a good shout for that. But yeah, hopefully we get one or two players back. But we'll find more on that tomorrow. On to Wolves though. They've had a funny old season, and I've always said that they're a better team than their league position shows, and they play better football than what their league position shows for me. But their problem has been in front of goal, and they've been the same like that for probably 2 or 3 seasons now, and they don't seem to be able to solve that problem at the minute, Mark.
No, and I think that could probably come down to Jimenez, that he probably hasn't been the same player since that injury that he got, which an injury like that, was it a skull fracture to the head, wasn't it?
Bad one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Bad.
Yeah, something like that. It's a very hard thing to come from, especially for him, because he'd probably be up there for one of the most headed goals since he's come in, like, because Adama Traore would just hit that in the box and just hope Jimenez would get it, and basically that's exactly what happens. Where now, he's not really the same player. We don't see him as much as we used to. It's Diego Costa, and he's not even firing on all cylinders at the minute. So, but like defensively and in the midfield, they're a brilliant side, but just that final third is just really lacking for them, and that's probably why they are where they are, because they just don't have that threat up top.
Yeah. Any other players that kind of stick out for you, George? You know, you mentioned Neves, or one of us mentioned Neves before. Is there any other players that kind of stick out for you as dangerous for us?
Do you know what? I'm not trying to back out of this or anything, but I can barely remember seeing Wolves this season on the telly.
No,
I don't feel like they've been on.
No.
Yeah, same here. I don't think I've seen a channel where they've been on.
Like you just said there, like with Diego Costa, I thought that was going to be a really good signing. And I mean, I know he's getting on a bit, but we know what handful he is, and he was like a goal machine in his spell at Chelsea. And I probably expected, what's he got, 1 or 2 goals this season? I expected a lot more of him at Wolves.
1 goal he scored the other week.
Yeah, and I know obviously they banged all the money on, was it Fabio Silva? About 35 million, and that hasn't worked out. And I think he's now out on loan. So as you said, Mark, there's not really a lot up top. Still relying on Neves in midfield. You know, he's been there a long time now, hasn't he? Is Moutinho still playing there?
Moutinho's still playing, yeah.
Yeah, he's still playing, though. I like him. I like that Nunez. I think he's a good player. Mateus Nunez. And obviously Pedro Neto was good a couple of years back, but had a bad injury. Podence is always good against us. He obviously scored at Villa Park. I just saw them as, like, when they played at Villa Park, they were very strong, very physical. And it took us a long time to get used to that, particularly in the first half. But yeah, I agree with you, George. Like, I don't remember them being on Sky. I really don't.
Like, Sky or BT. I don't think I've seen them on BT either.
Yeah, looking at their goals, they've scored 29 goals in 34 games. Only Everton have scored less.
Yeah,
so that could be a big reason as to. Everton and Southampton. They're the only teams who've scored fewer goals.
Would Leeds be down there now? I thought I seen Leeds have very bad.
Leeds have scored 43 goals.
I didn't think they scored that much.
Yeah. So, but Gary says Young on the Ashley Young thing. Young has done great, but he shouldn't be playing every week. Really, I totally agree. Weston is in the house. Don't know what it is, but I never feel confident playing Wolves.
No, me neither.
Barry says Wolves have no threat up top. We should be looking to play through them like Brighton did. Rachel, we have an absolutely awful record against Wolves, but we'll come to the stats in a bit. Hopefully, Wolves will be pussycats on Saturday. Yeah, let's hope. Podence and Cunha are good, but the rest are not all that. Aging squad, yeah. Lee's problem is their defence, 100%. And Baby or Traore is still there, coming off the bench every now and again. I don't know. They're just such a funny side. And I think if we can get the lead against them, I think we'll be fine. We're going to go starting lineups in a second. So actually, no, we won't do that. We'll talk on a couple of our players. So I think before the game, the pod, we were talking, Martin, about Konsa and Mings and how they couldn't really, and we featured this on the Talking Tactics show. So if anyone hasn't watched it, please do catch it, because Gareth made some great points about what Man United did to stop us from being able to pass into midfield. But you picked up on that, Martin, and said Konsa and Mings, their passing was really slow, and they couldn't find those passing lanes that they were finding before. So that's going to be massive for us on Saturday.
Absolutely, like they weren't as as quick as they have been in recent weeks, where they were able to get that final third pass straight away, one touch, bang, right in the middle through the lines. That game, it was kind of, they got the ball and they looked up for about a few seconds, and by the time they were trying to get their pass off, there was nearly 2 or 3 players on top of them, and they had to go back to Emi Martinez and then to Cons, or vice versa, then to Mings, and the tempo was just really, really slow. And I think, that it was in the first half really where the tempo was kind of slow, but the second half was a lot better. But I just felt even in the second half, it still wasn't as quick as you would have liked it from them. And Emery would probably feel the same way. So I just think that, I'm not putting the fault on them at all for the loss, but I'm just saying that, they weren't as good as what they would have liked.
Yeah, and it comes from movement as well. I think they shut down a lot of the passing lanes, and then that also comes to the other problem is that if you haven't got anyone necessarily to hit up top who can hold the ball up for you, like teams have tried that against. I know I'm not comparing ourselves at all, but teams have tried that against Man City to press them at the back to rush them in passing, but then they've got like a 6'5" striker up top who they can just hit,
sitting there ready to go,
and he's going to hold the ball up for them. So they can beat you both all ends up basically. Whereas as good as Watkins has been, that's still an area in many games where he needs to improve. We can't really hit him like that. We can play the ball in behind at times, but if you drop a couple of yards, he's not, and then you press as soon as he gets the ball, he's not going to have to hold the ball up. So I think it comes back to what you said, George, about teams kind of finding us out a little bit, and that need for more movement or players to take a few more risks or changing the team up a little bit to help us.
Yeah, I mean, like, say, we're going to put our teams up in a minute, but like earlier in the season when Coutinho was fit, Buendia was always a nice option off the bench, wasn't he? Like, he won us a couple of games, changed a few games, and when you don't get the same impact from him from the start, it's just nice on about 70 odd minutes, isn't it, to throw a new idea into the equation. But at the minute, we haven't got it.
Yeah. Well, funny you should mention that. Talking Buendia, couple of celebrations here of him scoring, and against Everton, he came off the bench and changed the game. And we want. I don't want to criticize him too much because there's Jacob Ramsey who could be a creative force. There's John McGinn who can do this, who can hopefully do similar. Louise can kind of carry the ball as well, but Emi Buendia, there's times where if he doesn't make those passes or if players aren't making those movements for him, he's almost kind of wasted in the game, isn't he? And are we needing a little bit more from him?
Yeah, I think. I'm sorry, George.
All right, then, fair enough. Thanks. I think you're spot on there, Rich. That if the lads aren't making the runs, Emi kind of, he is wasted. But however, we can't put the entirety of the blame on him for that. The players need to be making the movements. They need to be making themselves available for him or for another player like Ramsey or McGinn. Players need to be making themselves available in all areas of the pitch. So, yeah, I know that Buendia, like, I do agree with you. If no one's making runs, Buendia is a bit wasted. However, we can't put the whole blame on him. That's just my view on it. So, George, you fire away. I'll let you see what you think.
Yeah, it's hard for him, isn't it? We always say the lack of physicality in that. He's always sort of like fighting against the tide, Buendia. When we get ahead in a game and we get ahead of steam and the game opens up, Buendia he comes into his own then. But a game like last week when we're 1-0 down already by half time, it's just a lot of huffing and puffing. He doesn't get involved. He sort of gets bullied out of it. And then you saw him getting the hump a lot last week. The hands were in the air, weren't they? He's moaning at all the other players. And then he becomes more of a hindrance than anything. And I'd like to have got him off last week, but what are your other options?
Yeah. Gary agreeing with us, saying Buendia and Watkins need to be better. Hopefully, Watkins has managed to have some sleep. For a week, he's had a week off with his newborn. Hopefully, he's had some sleep.
I wonder if that's got anything to do with it, because that happened. Remember, he had the first one, didn't he, and went through a phase like this.
I don't know. I'm sure we would like to say it hasn't had an impact, but I don't think it can fail not to.
I bet it has.
Nice one, Bobby. Thanks for joining us, mate. Big up to you. Jamjack asked the question, do you think we've become predictable because of our lack of depth? I think you alluded to that, didn't you, George?
Yeah, it's predictable, and it's also like we kept going on about going under the radar, didn't we? That all went down the pan when we smashed Newcastle, and then it was all the reports, wasn't it? How Villa are doing this every time you click something on Twitter. How Villa are, how Emery is a masterclass and all this. It was all out there. Our game was being deconstructed by everyone, including the managers, who are then seeing us flying up the table, and all of a sudden we're a threat then, and we're probably getting more attention paid to us than what we were before. So it's just it's the I can't think of the phrase. It's something of the devil, where
I know what you're saying.
I can't think of what it is, but that's just what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's just basic. As soon as you put your head above the parapet, everyone then jumps on it and finds out exactly what you're doing, and then that's when you've got to that's when you do need players that can come in and kind of shake it up a little bit.
That was the beauty of us being 11th for so long. No one cared.
Yeah. So let's get you. If you guys in the comments want to talk starting lineups.
Well, hey, Michael's got himself sorted.
Yes, here he is. He's done it. He's done it.
Hello, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Absolute legend.
That's Irish for well done.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. We'll give you a shout out online as well. So amazing stuff, mate. You joined Rachel, Duncan, one or two others. So thank you so much. And if you do want to become a member, hit that link at the top of the chat, or in YouTube, it should say join. It's just $1.99 a month. Hit that and become a member and become a true Villa Park Pod follower, as Michael has just done there. We'll talk transfers in a bit because we've got a few people asking around rumours for players. So we'll talk that in a bit. But talk starting lineups. Get your predicted lineups in the chat. I don't think it'll be too much of a surprise. But George, I will come to you first, mate. You may have alluded to one or two little surprises. So talk us through. Obviously, we haven't had Unai's press conference, so there might be one or two players back in.
Yeah, as I say, with this one, I don't know whether it's what I think it should happen or whether it's what I would like to happen. I just think it's the same team, really. I mean, if we had cover for Ramsey, I would say that he could quite easily drop down to the bench. But there's the man we were just talking about, Buendia, he's not struggling, and I'm not trying to make any scapegoats, but he just looks like he could do with a game or two out, or as like to say, maybe to come on a bit later in the game. So you've got Bert there, who's scored a couple of goals for us in a couple of cameos. He's not done so much since in his fleeting appearances, but he's got a bit in the locker tray already, and he can always sort of pull something out of the bag, can't he, when you need him? So yeah, why not give him a go?
Yeah, especially against a team like Wolves, where they'll be very solid. I'm sure. Last week excluded. I'm sure they'll be solid, and you just need a little bit of unpredictability, don't you? And that's exactly what
magic, right?
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but you need a bit of. And Troy Ore can provide that, can't he? He can do something that you just don't expect, and win you the game.
Yeah, he's a bit of a maverick, mate, and there's not really anyone like him in the side. So, what harm would it really do if he's not doing it? Then you just change it again, don't you? And when Deer comes back on.
Exactly. Martin, your team. I haven't looked at it previously, so I don't know if it's the same.
No, it's the same.
I think you've kept Buendia in, haven't you?
I kept Buendia in, yeah, because I think he wasn't at fault for Saturday. I know I didn't think he did not have a good game, but at the same time, he's not really at fault. But I don't think Emery's going to change his squad probably between now and the end of the season. He would probably like to put in one or two bodies, but like you touched on there, George, like with all the injuries from people, we're very, what's the word I'm looking for? We are very fragile.
Yeah,
fragile. We're very fragile in selections at the minute, and I don't think that team is going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I agree. Duncan said if Cash and Kamara are fit, might come in. Duncan's due a goal versus his former team, though. And as you both put him on there, what are your thoughts on Dendoncker at the moment? I know he's had one or two, solid games, but what are your thoughts on him at the minute? That's for either one.
I would say for £13 million, he's been a pretty good signing. You know, he's no frills. You get what? Oh God, I can't think of the phrases I want now. You know,
What you see is
when
what
they
you
say
get.
Yeah,
about the tin, right?
Ron Seal.
Yeah, yeah. You know, he's just been solid. In some games, it does feel very quickly that this isn't a game for him. I think it was like the Brentford game and a game a few weeks ago where you just thought, oh, I don't know about this, but you know, we picked him. But you know, in also like in the Newcastle game, he was superb. He's just dependable. I mean, if you've got no Kamara, he's just kind of a bit of a stopper, isn't he? Good physical presence, good in the air. You know, he's not going to set the world alight, but I'd say he's a decent squad player.
Yeah. I agree. You the same, Martin? I mean, he's come in and been fairly solid without, like George said there, does what he says on the tin.
That's the word.
Yeah, he's gone from having not touched the ball in his whole time he was at Villa to very solid. So hopefully he's going somewhere. So
maybe
but
he is due a goal, like
maybe he is
like
due a
Duncan
goal.
said. Yeah.
And if he does it against Wolves, I hope he celebrates in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. Lee says, just hope they have some gas in the tank. They still have goals, just need the energy. Rachel, I'll come to your comment later. We'll talk transfers in a bit. Michael said, love Traore, was pitch side against Fulham and he has great teeth like diamonds. And Gary wants to get his Duran puns in. In an ordinary world, I'd play Duran before the end of the season.
Yeah,
Gary's going to keep going on with this, isn't he?
Yeah, is it time to give him a chance, like a bit more of a chance? You know, not trying to bring him on against a Man United side that he's not going to get much joy. Is it a chance for him to come on and or to start and do something? You know, potentially against a team like Wolves.
It's hard.
I don't think this.
Shall I go or?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
George.
you go ahead. You go.
Yeah, I'm finding it hard to sort of make a judgment on Duran. A couple of times I've seen him, he thought he looks lively, he looks like a bit of a player. Then another couple of times I'm like, he looks well off it and he's not ready. You know, it's only 5-10 minutes each time, so it's very hard to judge. But if we were still in 11th like we were forever, you'd probably find he'd be getting a lot more games. But at the minute, we know what we've got, and it's been trusted for all the way through this run at least. So I don't think we can have something to play for now all the way through. So I think you're looking at next season really before Duran comes involved.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people have to remember as well is that he's still only 18 years of age. Like, there's still plenty of time for him. So probably signing him in January was a thing of, getting him used to the playing style that Emery wants, and being in around the first team. So obviously he's rated really highly, but I just think that some people just need to remember the lad is still 18, and here we are holding him on a pedestal like God. So I just think we kind of need to relax on the expectations of Duran at the minute.
Excitement, isn't it? It's just that excitement,
It is. No, it is the excitement. Don't get me wrong.
I wonder whether he's one of these now that they thought, right, get him now while he's at a good price, rather than see a Brighton take him and then in 2-3 years a team like us are trying to pay Brighton about 40 million for him. Maybe just get him in early, try and get him settled in the country. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a loan maybe next season.
That could be one scenario. Like, you look at Brighton, snapping up Ben Ferguson from Bohemians. Funny enough, he's actually the youngest. He's the youngest debutant in the four balls. He was only 14 when he came on for pre-season friendly against Chelsea. That was him. For anyone that was ever wondering about the 14-year-old Irish lad that came on against Chelsea, that was Evan Ferguson. But funny enough, I'll just let you all know a little story just before we drive away. That apparently underage Evan Ferguson, according to my neighbour, wasn't exactly good, but he just worked hard.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show hard work is more important than your talent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What we got here? Duncan said still 0-0 in the United Brighton game.
Hurry up, United.
Savas, who's joined us, said 4 games left equals 12 points. How many would you take? 7 to 8. I'll come back to you boys on that. We'll get that later. Don't spoil it.
Yeah, we'll get that bit later.
And Michael agreeing with us. He's one for the future. So let's go stats and let's talk stats. What we've against Wolves in previous games. Also, don't forget, please, guys, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, help us spread the word of the channel. If you want to be and join the channel like Michael has done, click the link at the top of the chat. It's pinned to the top of the chat and join for just $1.99 a month and become an official Villa Park Pod follower. So On to the stats, boys. We've played 15 times against Wolves in the Premier League. Look, all even Stevens. Look, 5 total wins for Wolves, 5 for Villa, and 5 draws.
So who's it that said we had a terrible stat? Was it Rachel? Because it doesn't look as bad as what she's put it out to be.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad. They've
You know what it is. It's when they come up back in the day, like in the early 2000s, they weren't the side they are now, and we had a decent record. I remember us going up there and smashing them 4-0 years ago, and we did. Yeah, I think they got relegated a couple of times, at least once, and we did all right then. But recently, it's not as great.
This is Premier League, so don't forget Championship. When they had Nuno, they used to beat us. Obviously, we beat them once under Steve Bruce 4-1, but I think there was 1 or 2 games that they beat us quite comfortably at Molineux when we were in the Championship. So yeah.
The only recent Villa win I can remember is the 1-0 in the lockdown when El Ghazi scored the last minute pen.
Yeah. Well, look, these are the recent
that actually,
meetings.
funny enough, was the last one.
Exactly. So we've got 1-1 earlier on this season. We lost 2-1 last season at Molineux. We lost 3-2, which was to be the pretty much Dean Smith's downfall, where we were 2-0 up and we.
On my birthday, lads, I will add.
Nice.
I'm still not over it now.
That was one of the 3-2 defeats that my son saw out of his first 4 games. Watching Aston Villa, 3 of them were 3-2 defeats inside the last minute.
Was that your 60th birthday, George? Was it?
No, yeah, we'll just skate past.
I heard having kids put the years on you now, so I'm just wondering.
And then we drew 0-0 in lockdown, and also beat them 1-0 in lockdown, which was an Anwar El Ghazi penalty. So
that feels like ages ago.
Yeah, looking at that, what's that? 2, 3, 4, 5 goals that we've scored against them. They've scored 6 goals against us. So it's not likely to be obviously there was a 3-2 there, but very tight games generally, which you'd expect from local derbies, so to speak. Recent form, obviously, look, 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat for Villa, so 10 points from the last 5 games. 9 points from the last 5 games for Wolves, so they've been on some pretty decent form. Obviously, excluding that heavy defeat against Brighton, but they've beaten Chelsea, they've beaten Brentford. Well, everyone beats Chelsea. They beat Brentford, they beat Crystal Palace. We obviously beat Forest. We've beaten Newcastle, which had a great result. Drew with Brentford, beat Fulham, lost to Man United. So look, again, clean sheets for Wolves there. Palace, Brentford, Chelsea. Only one they lost to Leicester, and then a heavy defeat last week, which I'm sure they want to put right. We haven't conceded many goals either, so it's shaping up to be a tight game as it stands at the moment. 7th in the league for Villa, 16 wins, 10 wins for Wolves, 6 draws, 7 draws for Wolves. They've lost 17 games. Look, they average less than a goal per game. We're averaging 1.35 goals per game. They're conceding almost 1.5 goals per game. 10 clean sheets, and they don't create many chances at all. So I do want to say they are there for the taking. I really do have to say that. I
think if George had £1 for every time he said they're there for the taking, he'd be rich.
Yeah. So we've got to win. We've got to win to get back into contention for this European spot, haven't we, boys?
Absolutely, and this is the game to do it. I think big Midlands derby. The lads have to be up for it. Got to do themselves a favour. That one's for George. And go and get the 3 points and cement their place. In one of the European elite competitions.
And at the end of the day, there's only 4 games left, so you've just got to go for it and give it your all now. They'll be on the beach.
Now look to using one of the football phrases. At the end of the day,
you just got to go for it. Nothing to lose.
Yeah. You can have your nice little parties in Marbella and all that in a few weeks. Start living the dream again. But for now, let's do the job and get us a European tour.
Yeah. Exactly. Gary says, if we lose, it's Europe over realistically, unless we beat Liverpool away. We're the Midlands top dogs, he says now as well. Duncan remembering an Angel hat trick over Wolves back in the day. And Michael said, I remember we used to beat them back in the day, and he got arrested at their place for celebrating a goal. Oh dear. Well, look, at least we got the win. So that's great. And yeah, maybe that Newcastle game is a bit of a hangover because we have struggled a little bit since. So look, there's nothing better to like keep these cliches, but there's nothing better to get yourself back up for it than a local derby. So yeah, let's hope we're back in it.
The real podcast tonight. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, before we go through kind of scores, predicted scores, just wanted to touch on transfers, and also firstly just to shout out to Unai and Ollie Watkins for getting nominated for Player and Manager of the Month, or Manager and Player of the Month respectively. Again, great achievement. I don't know if they're going to win it, but just great to be nominated again. I think that's the second time that Unai, or maybe the third time that Unai has been nominated so far since he's been with the club.
I think it's his third time, and Arteta got it twice because you know what Arsenal fans are like. They just spam the vote button.
Yeah. Well, it's 5 wins from 7, and obviously Ollie's had a great, certainly start to mid-April. He's dropped off a little bit towards the end, but hopefully he can get a goal and get himself back in the England side. But yeah, I mean, it's good that you talked about under the radar, George, but they're definitely over the radar now with getting recognition for Player of the Month and all that sort of stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, no doubt about it. But that's good for us. They've deserved it. I mean, if Watkins doesn't get it this time, he's never going to have a better run in his career, a chance at getting it, and it would be a bit, who's been in better form than the run he's been on. I know you're looking at Haaland, but he's just like this all season, isn't he? It doesn't ever stop for him.
No.
So I'd love to see him win it myself. The Manager of the Month, I'm a bit of one for the curse and all that. So I don't care whether Unai gets that. I'd rather just let someone else take that one, and we just keep winning.
Yeah. Talk about competition that Gary says there for Ollie Watkins. He mentioned before that we've been linked with Vlahovic and Torres for 100 million, and you wanted to touch on some of the rumours, Martin, being the man in the know. What are your thoughts on these rumours?
Well, with this one, it was reported by the Marca, so this wasn't your typical footballer insider now, George, or your, the Daily Mirror or anything like that. This was coming from a top report from Spain, who are regarded as one of the transfer gurus of Spain. So now, like any source, you don't know how true it is, but I think as a tier 1 source, it's slightly believable, and it got enough Villa Twitter to blow up and get excited about it, talking about the front three of Watkins, Torres and Vlahovic. Now, from my understanding of that, Torres doesn't want to leave because he wants to prove himself in Barcelona. He wants to change Xavi's mind that he can be a vocal point for Barcelona. However, he is aware that he might be used as a sacrificial lamb for the finances reasons of Barcelona. And Vlahovic was a bit of a surprise to me now, to be honest, because I just think he's probably a bit far stretched. But, if, with our new sporting director, Matteo Almini, he seems to be pulling strokes of deals for Barcelona, and they were in financial ruins, apparently. And that wasn't because of him. He was in there pretty much when it was happening. So, if I don't think they pulled the two of them off, but I think they pull off one of them. I can't tell you
who. Nice. Can Rachel's asking, can Torres play anywhere on the front line?
Yeah, I think he can. He can play right wing, striker, and left wing. Don't think he can play cam. I think he's pretty much anywhere in the front three. So that's where he can play. We've seen it with City, where he was a left wing, a striker, or a right wing. It's nearly the same for Barcelona. He's left wing, right wing, and up top. So he is very versatile along the front three. So if someone's injured, he can go into their position, and I can put someone there. So that's how Torres runs, basically.
Yeah. George, a few comments coming in about the new potential sporting director or director of football, Matteo Almini. Rachel said the summer window will be mental if he becomes director of football. Duncan was talking about Nico Williams. He's mentioned Harvey Barnes, and Harvey Barnes had literally just been linked. I've just checked on Twitter. But yeah, and Gary thinks he thought he looked like Andre Villas-Boas at first. But I mean, is this a positive sign for us that we're getting in this director of football from like from Barcelona, or do we, or do we need to not read too much into it, because we've had directors of football that have had a certain strategy before, and it's not always gone to plan.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. This, I mean, I wasn't even really believing it with some of the Twitter rumors I saw yesterday, but then I saw Romano talk about it, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm not going to sit here and say I know anything about this fella. I don't. But in the fact that Emery's obviously had a big say in this, I'm assuming. So, basically by me, anything Emery says, I'm 100% behind for the job that he's done. It's a high profile appointment. You'd assume they're going to back him. But at the same time, like Emery in his other jobs he's had, he likes to kind of sort of buy the more unfashionable player. So like some of the ones you mentioned there, Mark, I'm sort of thinking, are they a bit high profile for us? I don't know. Emery's a sort of bloke that, he'll spend like 10 million on a player that's been written off by 3 clubs because he can do a specific job, and then he'll make him into a 30-40 million pound player rather than buying the finished article. But we'll
I think, yeah, I think wherever Emery's gone, he actually, funny enough, has always signed one profile player,
one marquee one, yeah.
Like so I think it's pretty much every manager, they want to search for their bargain deals, but they will have to go for that one marquee signing, to get fans excited. And obviously, Torres and Vlahovic are the 2 that are being mentioned. So I don't think he'll get the 2, and I'm gonna keep saying that. I don't think he'll get the 2 of them. But I think he will get one of them, and Torres is probably the realistic one because Spanish connections between the 2 of them, and Barcelona obviously want to clear their funds and balance the books.
You wonder though, Mark, if he's just gone from the same lad that was at City, right?
Yeah, this is Ferran Torres, who was at City. Yeah,
in a year he goes from City to Barca to Villa. It don't quite sound right to me, and I don't think. Would he fancy this?
No, I don't think he will. But I think at the same time, if if Villa make Europa League, I think it'd be a good pull for him because he was playing Europa League with Barcelona, so he's still playing the same competition. So that's just the way I see it. And other players as well that were being mentioned. It seems to be every La Liga player under the sun at the minute, but the ones that I've seen mostly is Kubu from Real Sociedad, who was posed as the next, Japanese Messi, play for Barcelona and Real Madrid, but he's with Real Sociedad at the moment. Kessie from Barcelona has been mentioned. Christensen has been mentioned. Yes. And then they were Neco Williams, and they want to look for a right back. So, it's lots of links everywhere at the minute. But I did see one as well that supposedly Unai Emery is going to plan a squad overhaul this summer. And supposedly with Almany coming in, that the quote was, now how true this quote is, I don't know, so don't take my word for it, that he's going to get given unlimited budget. So is this supposed squad overhaul being a part of this unlimited budget where players are going to go and go and go and new players are going to come in? Because we've seen it in January where we had a lot more outgoings than we did incoming. So I'm just wondering, will that be the case in the summer? I'll let one of you answer that.
Go on, Rich.
What? Sorry, just repeat that last bit about the funds.
Yeah, so apparently, as part of the deal for Matteo Almany, that the quote was he'll be given an unlimited budget.
Oh, yeah.
And supposedly there's going to be a squad overhaul. So you can share your thoughts on that.
I'm always wary of squad overhauls. I think that's a difficult thing to say, and I always think that, from what Emery's got out of the players that he's already got. I mean, we did like pods 3 or 4 months ago where we were saying we'd only keep 2 players. Now it's a little bit more. It's more than that. There are 1 or 2 weaknesses.
It's a little bit more different.
Definitely. Yeah. But there's players that have improved that you think, well, actually, there is improvement in them. They can push on. The other part of it is that as soon as you make more than 5 signings in a squad, it makes a huge difference. It becomes extremely difficult to bed those players in, and then it then multiplies if you sign players in January, because what you're asking for those players to do is just hit the ground running and then kind of dip later on and then they settle in. So I don't think there'll be a massive squad overhaul. I think there'll be players that leave, players like Nakamba. Possibly Cameron Archer if we get a big bid for him. I don't want to see him go, but if you get 25 million offer, he goes. Probably, players like El Ghazi we might get a bit of money for. Sanson will get money for. Traore might even go. So
I think Ghazi's gone anyway on a permanent.
He's not. He's
Yeah,
on
he's
loan,
out, he's
isn't
gone,
he?
yeah. No,
Or
they
is he
sold
gone?
him
Yeah,
back 2 million.
Oh, they sold.
Yeah, we was 3
Sold
million
to
he was sold
PSV.
for. Yeah,
Pretty much
fair
give him
enough.
away.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, yeah. So there will be players that go, and we'll probably Keenan Davis will get sold. So that'll be 40, 50 million maybe that we raise from that. But that's more deadwood, and I think probably
Yeah.
4, maximum of 5 players come in. Now, if that's defined as a squad overhaul, then maybe so. But I wouldn't class it as that if it was me.
Yeah, but that's just a quote. And just to talk on outgoings for everyone watching, that supposedly Man City and Chelsea are interested in Alex Moreno. Now, I wish this attic had a bit of a hurling stick because I want to batter Chelsea and Man City for this statement because he is not leaving Villa. Let's get that one out of the way. So, but I want to get your touch, lads, and in the comment, what do you think? Do you think, is it a silly just report writing, or do you think that there might be a legitimate interest? So I'll ask you, George, what do you think on the interest in Moreno from City and Chelsea?
Yeah, it's a cheap little headline for me. It's an easy one, isn't it? He's started very well for us. He's quite a few assists, exciting, good on the ball. But at the end of the day, he's 29, coming on 30. Chelsea and City, they just go for someone better, won't they? And younger. They can splurge 50, 60 million. So no, I don't see it myself, lads.
No.
Especially when he's only just come. He's only just come in January anyway.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. I mean, he was nearly going to Nottingham Forest at the start of the start of this season. Sorry, he didn't go there. He came to Villa in January. It's like the opposite of Ferran Torres. He ain't going to go from potentially signing for Forest, then signing for Villa, and then within half a season signing for Man City. So,
well,
and he's
Keylor
29.
Navas, he went from Madrid to PSG to Forest.
Yeah, but his goalkeeper's different, man. He's 29, 30, and it's Man City. Like George said, they can sign anybody they want. Why would they sign a 29, 30-year-old Spanish left back? Like, it's just I can't see it. I can't see it.
Like Moreno, that's the type of I just said about unfashionable players that do a job. That's the sort of player I see Emery getting more of. I mean, he was saying the other day about Ashley Young at his age when he was at Villarreal. He was signing 36-year-olds. That everyone said was over the hill. He was like, no, that's what I need at this moment. Cheap, cheap signing, low risk. I don't care what the perception is. I'm going to get what I want, and I quite like the approach myself, rather than trying to be really big. Just get what you need.
Yeah, I think Lee Kang-in will be coming in, and Gareth mentioned that a lot on the Talking Tactics pod. He said that he had not a dealing directly with Almany, but he did a little bit of work with Valencia when Almany was there for a kind of an analyst who was there as well.
Yeah, he was aware of him, wasn't he?
And he was aware of Almany when he was at Mallorca. Yeah, I think that was a link. Anyway, he's got very close ties with Real Mallorca, and obviously still has close ties there now. And Lee Kang-in is one player who's obviously been touted around. So if there is a deal to be done with this guy coming in, it will most likely be him coming in. But I would suggest we try and get that deal done quick.
Who?
Where does this Lee play?
Oh, I think he plays anywhere along the front four.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but just to touch on that, Rich, when you were on about Spain, Tom Colomase, your best mate, had obviously said that Villa are setting their sights on La Liga in terms of the transfer this summer. And obviously this has got to do with Almany and Unai Emery. So we have to see where this goes. Now, for anyone even wondering, because we've got Almany, I want to kind of touch on him just a little bit. People are kind of asking, where does this leave Johan Lang? Now, from my understanding, his job's not under any threat because Barcelona brought in Almany and they still kept Jordi Cruyff in the directing role. So obviously he is used to being in a partnership with somebody, so they'll come to agreements on who to sign. But mostly Unai Emery is going to be calling the shots to these lads, and they're both going to be doing their swaying to players. So if for anyone wondering, Johan Lang is not under threat. The two of them will probably be working together. So, what do you think on that, lads?
Well, Gareth mentioned that straight away on the pod as well. He said that it's not gonna. He understands it's not gonna affect Langer's role either. Alman is a director of football, predominantly used for transfers for the first team, and Langer is a sporting director, so he's involved in all of the operations around the club, whether that be under 23s, under 18s, women's side, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't think his place is under threat.
George?
Yeah, I don't really know, lads. To be honest, it's like that side of the game is, it's a bit of sort of above my station, if I'm honest. All I look at is this guy's from Barcelona. He's obviously got good. He's from good stock. It did concern me a little bit because obviously the finances of Barca the last couple of years. But you're saying there, Mark, that he wasn't heavily involved in that. So you just trust the club to make the right appointments, I guess.
Yeah,
That's it.
I've got to jump on some comments, lads. We've got loads coming in. So let's just where can we go from? So Barry says European football qualification has to be part of any stipulations on these big name signings. Marcus saying it's very positive that we're getting Almany in. Gary, no point having billionaire owners if we can't splash the cash now, especially. Duncan said the top young player a lot of people don't know about is Yeremy Pino, a huge prospect. Apparently we've offered him 5 times his salary at Barca. I've heard that he's on a big pay rise. Again, I don't understand how newspapers get hold of this, but yeah, we'll see. From my understanding, Alamany is very good at negotiating, buying cheap and selling high, says Rachel. And he sold Coutinho to us. Yeah, he did. Michael agrees with you, George. We don't need to smash transfer records. We're more interested in getting the right players. Savas says apparently Almany has close ties to George Mendes. Be interesting to see if we sign any of his players. I'm not sure. Is Mendes linked with Wolves? Is he the one who signs?
Yeah.
But I think
we've had a couple of him as well.
Yeah, but I think that relationship with Wolves starting to deteriorate a bit because I think he was part of the deal with Unai Emery going to Villa.
Right.
And the two owners were talking to Mendes, obviously, and their relationship is really strengthened. So probably that's where that's coming from.
Right, okay. Interesting.
That's from my understanding and hearing.
Yeah. Want us to go effing mental in the summer?
Problem is, when we do that, we've done that a few times, haven't we? And it hasn't really paid off for us.
Yeah. Duncan said Emery thinned the squad down in January, ready for next season.
Yeah.
Michael said unlimited budget is not wise wording.
No.
And Gary said be harsh to have an overhaul if we qualify for Europe. Not fair on the lads who did it, really. And I think it got lost in translation. Rachel said that unlimited budget wording is the translation not being right.
Well, you can't do that anyway, lads. The FP won't allow us to do it. We've already got the 7th highest budget, already, and we've not really been like this year. Looks like we're finally gonna get around the position of what we're spending. But last year we didn't. The year before we certainly didn't. So we can't go spending big bucks unless they're just going to ignore all the rules.
Yeah, Dunk said we'll buy 3 or 4 big names plus 2 or 3 decent squad players. Few seniors will go. Gary said now we go from best of the rest to top 7 next season, hopefully. Savas agrees with us. We can't overhaul the squad. 4 or 5 players will come in. Michael again said I think 5 players will be in: centre back, right back, centre midfield, right back, right wing, and goalkeeper. And we should go for Mendy as backup goalkeeper, says Duncan. Gary said, look at Cucurella at Brighton. 1 season at Brighton now, waste of space at Chelsea. And Rachel agrees with you. George Marino type signings excite her most as well. Kang In-lee is left wing predominantly. Gary said, we won't get Messi now. Almany doesn't want him back at Barcelona. And taking more control over football matters off Perslow, which is good.
Yeah.
So, I know it's like we say, we like to do a bit of transfer talk. It's always good. Like I say, I'm seeing Harvey Barnes linked. Tom Colomos is linking Harvey Barnes to us, a player that I would like actually. I'd really like him. So we'll see.
He's very direct, isn't he?
Yeah, there might be that UK player tax though that goes onto these players. So we'll see.
A few injuries, mine though, doesn't he? He's out quite a lot.
He does. Yeah, he does. So we get back to this question that Savas gave us before. And we'll do our little bit of fun relegation chat as well before we get the score predictions for Wolves to finish the show. But he said 4 games left equals 12 points. How many would you take? And I think he's saying 7 to 8 that we look like we're going to get. Who do I go? Do I go optimist or pessimist first? This is the question.
Who's the optimist and who's the pessimist?
I know.
Let's go pessimist. George.
Right, George, go ahead.
George will say realist. George will say realist.
Thank you. Yeah, I suppose you've got to try and go game by game here, haven't you? So start off with Wolves. It's a draw / Villa win. I can't see us getting beat. So it's a 1 or a 3 there. As I've got giving away my prediction straight away here, but no, I'm going to go with Villa win. So I'm going to go 3 for Wolves. Then who is it then? Is it Liverpool?
Tottenham home.
Spurs at home. Now the form Spurs are in, they are struggling, and it looks like they're there for the taking.
Oh, no, look who's there for the taking, huh?
Bit of sarcasm there, mate. But at the same time, it only takes Son, Kane, and Kulusevski to have a bit of a field day like they did the other last season against us, and we could get absolutely mullered. But I think that's one we can win. 6. Liverpool, we get beat, and I'm pretty sure we get beat. Liverpool win every game now, so write that one off, I think. And then the Brighton one is interesting because where are we both going to be at that stage if this happens?
Yeah,
I can't call that one. We've done them at their place, didn't we? But that was a very dirty, dirty game, wasn't it? We basically shithoused them and won. That one, go on. I'll tell you what, Rich. I'm going to be an optimist for a change. We win, so I'm going to go 9.
Wow. So that puts us on 63 points.
Right, that's got to be 6th, isn't it?
It's a good shout for 6th because you beat Brighton. You beat Brighton, don't you? Yeah. Martin?
I was actually going to say 9 as well. I was kind of hoping for George to be a bit of a pessimist there, you know.
I thought I was going to be, and then I ended up going the other way.
Yeah, you ended up switching altogether. You didn't know where you were going.
No.
No, I think it'd be 9. I think we beat Wolves. I think we definitely beat Spurs because I just think if we don't beat them, I'd be just annoyed because of the way they're going at the minute. Liverpool and Brighton. I don't know because I do think we lose Liverpool because it'd just be typical for Liverpool to go and beat us, you know, considering the way they're running. I think we can beat Brighton. I think we can because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Brighton," but they have games in hand. But yeah, they're against Newcastle, Man City, and Arsenal.
They're against the top 2 good games though, Mark. I think they've got Southampton.
Yeah, but they still have. But they're 3 games in hand. There's Newcastle, Arsenal, and Man City.
Brighton's
top 3 teams in league.
Yeah, Brighton's running now is Everton at home, Arsenal away, Newcastle away, Southampton at home, Man City at home, Villa away. So
that's
if you come off the back of 2 defeats to Arsenal and Newcastle away, then you're facing Southampton. Yeah, the chance are they'll be down, but you just don't know, do you? That momentum, you lose that momentum, but we'll see.
We were probably saying that against Forest, and then they go and smack Wolves 6-0.
Yeah. I think we'll get 7 points.
Oh, now who's ahead of us? Look, George, get him.
Sorry,
Rich,
I think we'll get.
Come on, mate.
I think we get 7. I think.
Go on, where are they from?
I'm gonna say draw Saturday. No, I'm not. I'm gonna say win Saturday, draw Spurs, lose Liverpool, beat Brighton. 61 points.
61.
Yeah. Loads of comments. Taka is in the house. Taka Bot, I like it, mate. Thanks for joining. Up the Villa. Gary says Kulusevski's a 1-season wonder at Spurs. Duncan agrees with you, George. And Martin, did you say 9 points as well, Mark?
Yeah, I said 9. Yeah.
We'll win 3 and lose to Liverpool. Michael says no stop.
Yeah, he's like me, isn't he?
Yeah, I know. Taka says what position is Conference League? I think it's 7th. Depends if we get players back and the tank. Yeah, 100%. It definitely relies on that. Brighton will get 6 points.
It's only 1 game a week now, though, lads, isn't it? There's no more midweek.
Yeah.
No.
And not for for us. Brighton have. Weston says 7 points. He agrees with me. Brighton game would be like a cup final. De Zerbi won't even be there next season. Well, that's the rumours are he's going back to Italy. Yes, there's a couple of clubs after him.
Is that
I feel
right?
sorry for Brighton.
I
really
know,
do.
yeah,
Why
I
doesn't
know.
anyone want to stay there? It's a lovely, one of the nicest places in the country to live.
Yeah, I know.
That's the first I've heard
good
of that. Now
club.
does everybody gone back to Italy now?
Yeah, you guys at Villa Park last game, says Michael. I'm not. George is.
I'm not.
I
I have.
don't think you're
Unfortunately,
flying
I had an
over, are you?
exam the next day.
Yeah.
No.
I'm there for Spurs game.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in college in phase 4, folks, so can't take any time off, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm at Spurs and Liverpool. So Spurs home, Liverpool away. So if anyone's about, come and say hello. Right, before we finish up, we'll get your score predictions in a second. So get your score predictions in the chat, people. Last time I checked, we were still 4 subscribers away from 1,400. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please hit that subscribe button and help us get to 1,400 subscribers. If you can hit that like button as well, people, and help us spread the word of the channel. Every video that we do, we always get someone that says, I've just stumbled across your channel and I really love your content. And that's because of the likes that we get. So please do keep spreading the word, hitting that like button, and it helps with the algorithm to help spread the channel. And if you want to be like Michael, Rachel, and Duncan in particular and become a member of the channel for just £1.99 per month, a third of the cost of a pint, then please hit that join button or click the link at the top of the chat. It's pinned at the top of the chat, and become a member of the channel and get your personalized shout out on the show.
We actually never touched on the relegation update. Gary's just put
Oh,
in there.
yes. Sorry, Gary. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I saw your question. Big Sam in at Leeds. Will he save them, George? Will he save them?
I don't know, but I love this. Did you? I assume you boys have heard what he said.
Yeah.
He's great, isn't he? I was waiting for him to laugh at the end of it, but it didn't come. He truly believes it, doesn't he?
He's done more. He's up there with Pep and Klopp.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I go to my grave, I'm gonna think to myself, Sam Allardyce. He really was one of the best.
Yeah. But the most important question is, will he save Leeds?
I think he will. I think Leeds have enough. I've probably said it all year that I think Leeds just about have enough in them. Probably go down to the final day, but I think they've got enough.
I'm not sure. I've been pretty decent so far. I said Leicester would get out, and I think they still think they will. So I think it's going to be Southampton, Forest, and I always did say Everton or Leeds. Leeds look shakier at the back, but they've got a bit more going forward. It's going to be right. It's going to be at one of them two on the last day, I reckon. I'm not sure I can say who it's going to be.
Yeah, well, Leeds' running is Man City away, Newcastle at home, West Ham away, Tottenham at home.
That's rough,
and what about Everton? What's Everton's running?
Everton's running is Brighton away,
Ooh.
Man City at home,
Jesus Christ,
Wolves away, Bournemouth at home.
I think Everton are gone.
And Forest
Leeds could get something against West Ham. Sorry, Rich, go ahead.
Forest is Southampton at home, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Palace away.
I think Forest
six possible points for Forest, isn't there?
Yeah,
I'd say.
I think there's 6 points in there for Forest.
But they've been crap away from home all season, haven't they?
Yeah.
And then, did you say the Leicester run in by any chance? No.
I think Leicester are all right, but Leicester have got Fulham away, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, West Ham at home.
Possible 4 points there. They're
still in it. They're still in trouble. I think it's Southampton. Looking at Forest running, I've said Forest all the way through, but I think looking at them running, I think they might be all right. I think it could be Southampton, Everton, and Leeds.
Both of them, yeah. I think both deserve to go down. To be fair,
yeah.
I'm kind of just thinking.
I wouldn't want that because there's away days there that I'm losing out on. I'm getting Burnley and Sheffield United back, but then I'd lose Leeds and Everton Northern away games.
Yeah, I think I think Everton are gone. I think Southampton are gone. Be tough between Leicester and Leeds and Forest. I think Leicester be the one to go down. They'll surprise me. I did say they'll struggle initially in my league prediction, but I didn't put them down in a relegation scrap now. But I think they might go down just about.
Who's that? Sorry.
Leicester might go.
Leicester. Okay. Well, look, we've all said different teams there. Duncan says Southampton, Everton, and Forest or Leeds. Weston says Leeds are down for me. If it isn't Leeds, it'll be Everton. Takabot says Big Sam is definitely capable of saving Leeds. Probably will end up smashing Spurs last game, which would help us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be right down to the wire. Absolutely. So let's get your score predictions, George. You kind of hinted at it. What are you saying for Saturday then against Wolves?
Yeah, this is a tight one. It's definitely a one goal win for Villa. I reckon 2-1. Real tight game though. I don't think there'll be much to separate the two sides.
Who's scoring?
Go fancy Douglas Luiz to get one.
Ooh, interesting.
And,
I like it.
Bertrand Traore, maybe off the bench.
Nice. Michael said he'd take a 1-0. He definitely would. Duncan says 2-0 Villa. Wolves can't score. Barry's comfortable one, 3-0 Villa. I'd love that. Gary saying Wolves are toothless, or is it fangless? Takabot says Wolves are so
I think
unpredictable.
fangless will be a vampire reference.
yeah. But he'll go for a 2-1 Villa win, same as you, George. Rachel says 1-0 Villa, although not convinced. If we got any others, Gary, yeah, Wolves 1, Lions 2. And a Jacob Ramsey 90th minute winner for Takabot.
That would be nice.
What are you saying then, Martin?
I'm going to be in agreement with Rachel saying 1-0. I think it'll be a very tight game. We'll be up for it. But so are we, because we're on the back of a defeat and we want to get our foot back on the gas. As for the score, we're going to go with Douglas Luiz.
Nice.
I think you'll get a goal.
Nice. I think Jam Jack is saying 3-0 there to Villa, which would be great. I'm going to say 2-1, same as George. No, sorry. I'm going to say 2-1. 2-0, same as Duncan, I think. And I'm going to say I think Moreno might score. And I think Watkins will break his little mini goal drought. I think it'll be like a fairly early goal and then a goal right at the end to kind of put it to bed. Savas is saying 2-0 Villa. Konza's drew a goal. It's still 0-0 in today's game. So we'll get back in and watch the last sort of half hour of that and see if Man United can do us a bit of a favour. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining. Hopefully we can get the points on Saturday. Thank you for everyone in the chat. It's been brilliant getting your comments in and your questions in, and we love the interaction on the show. So yeah, don't forget on your way out, hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you want to help us get to 1,400, and if you do want to join as a member of the channel, then please do click that join button. We'll be back for a match reaction show either Saturday or Sunday, whenever we can get on. If we win, I'm sure we'll be on sooner rather than later. If we lose, we might leave it a little bit of time, but we'll see. But yeah, hopefully it'll be a great result. If any news comes up in the next couple of days, we might come on with a Bodymore bulletin. But thank you for tuning in.